everybody. It's me, Flyersguy, and welcome to this week's edition of Throwback Flyersguy. I have a new intro. I have an intro and an outro for this series now. Took me a while to think of one, but I got one. I kept it simple though. Well, anyway, in today's episode, I'm going to talk about the time I heard about the seizure incident in Japan with pocket monsters. Yes, pocket monsters. It's what they call Pokemon in Japan. Well, I remember hearing about this. It was in the South. I think it was probably... I heard about this. I didn't hear about this until like maybe January or whatever, or I'm not sure what month it was. But this was before Pokemon hit it big in the US. Yes, Pocket Monsters is popular in Japan. But this happened a year prior to the US premiere of Pokemon. What happened was a wide number of people and children from Japan, they watched this episode of Pocket Monsters. It was called Electric Soldier Porygon. An episode that never aired in the US. Electric Soldier Porygon. In the episode, Ash, Brock, and Misty, they end up in this town where you go to the Pokemon Center. I think Ash wants to transfer one of his Pokemon over, and the transfer machine is messed up because there is a computer virus inside the machine. So, the guy that's been working on the PC can't seem to get the PC to work or figure out why there's a virus in the system. He learns that his Porygon has been captured by Team Rocket and is now under control of Team Rocket. So in this one scene in Electric Soldier Porygon, there is a part where Pikachu does Thunderbolt, and I think Porygon launches missiles at Pikachu. Pikachu shocks the missiles, and all of a sudden there's this strobe light effect. Yes, there's a strobe light effect. And this is where the kids and the people watching the show ended up getting sick. There were cases of epilepsy. They went into epileptic shock, and they also had nausea and severe headaches. This story was shocking because I never knew this was the first time I ever heard about an anime doing something like this. And it's kind of shocking, especially if you're a parent and you see your kid watching a show and all of a sudden, a certain part of a show, the kid has a seizure and ends up throwing up and getting nauseous and having headaches. That's gotta be scary. And after this episode, there was a news report in Japan about this. I would put that up here, but it's in Japanese and there are no subtitles, so I can't understand what they're saying in the video. But if you guys want to check it out, I do have the BBC version of the story. So let's take a look at that. So here is some footage of the news story from BBC. Here's the news story here's the news story about the Pokemon electric soldier Porygon incident. And this is a BBC broadcast of the report. Let's check it out.
Investigations underway in Japan into why more than 600 children suffered from convulsions and vomiting after watching a television cartoon program. It's thought that bright flashing lights in the cartoon, Pocket Monsters, were to blame. Andrew Burrows reports.
Almost every Japanese child knows Pocket Monsters and its star Pakucho. They play the Nintendo computer game. They even sing the Pocket Monsters song. Millions were glued to the latest cartoon episode when a flashing explosion created from these slowed down images triggered convulsions in hundreds of children. Many were kept in hospital for over 24 hours. Often those affected had no history of epilepsy. More children had fits when excerpts were replayed on the news. Doctors said victims were shocked into a kind of hypnotic trance. Parents are alarmed.
I always thought it was a cute program that was fine for kids, but now I have to be careful about everything they watch.
It's not only cartoons. Fits have been linked with computer games in isolated cases in Japan and Britain.
1 child in 200 in this age group of 5 to 20 is what's called photosensitive. Now that means that if a child is photosensitive, flashing lights at a certain rate, most commonly between 10 and 20 flashes per second, may precipitate an epileptic seizure.
Eat this, watch this, Louis, kick it.
British television applies regulations to weed out dangerous flicker, typically caused by rapid contrasts, black on white, white on black.
The BBC and the British television industry as a whole have actually known about this problem for a number of years, and we have detailed guidelines and give advice, technical advice to program makers so that they can avoid these problems when they're making programs. And we obviously screen our programs in advance, and I myself have viewed programs and we've taken shots out where we think there might be a danger of triggering photosensitive epilepsy.
While television screens are carefully monitored, there's no system for regulating computer games. The Department of Trade and Industry concluded the number of people likely to be affected by flickering computer screens was too small to justify legislation. But the British Epilepsy Association is calling for computer games to carry warnings. Andrew Burrows, BBC News.
Wow. That has to be a very disturbing story. Very disturbing story. Indeed. Like I said, Pocket Monsters in Japan was a real big thing in Japan. They love that show. And before Pokemania hit the US, Pokemania, or Pocket Monsters Mania, was really going strong in Japan. Because of this incident, Pokemon had to go on a 3-month hiatus. And after that, there was a video after that apologizing for the incident. One of the creators of the show apologized for the incident, and she does this video. It's on YouTube. If you haven't seen it, kind of a bit of lost media, but it's on YouTube. And one of the creators of the show is apologizing and telling parents that their kids should be in a well-lit room and not to sit too close to the TV. They apologized for the incident, and they stated that it was an accident. It was an accident, and they didn't mean to do what they did. They weren't purposely trying to hurt those kids. And if you guys want to see that, here's a clip of that video as well. Well, I would post it, but it's a very long video. But I will leave a link in the description at the bottom of this episode. like I said, Pokemon was a phenomenon, not just here, but also in Japan. And this is crazy that this happened just a year prior to the US premiere of Pokemon in 1998. I myself was really hooked on the show, and I enjoyed every minute of it. And those episodes, unfortunately, there was a lot of episodes in the Japanese version that they couldn't show here in the United States. There was several of them. There was Showdown at the Poke Corral, because in this episode, there's a certain scene where the Safari Zone warden has a gun, and he points it at Ash and threatens him with it. And there's also a scene where Team Rocket tries to grab the gun, and they try to shoot the warden with the gun. And then the next episode is the episode where there's some kind of beauty contest, and James has fake breasts. And also the episode with Jinx. Apparently, there was some backlash about that episode because Jinx is a Pokemon, and the thing is, Jinx had features on its face that was very offensive to African Americans. So they had to change that episode entirely, and Jinx also got a palette swap as well. She has a purple face. And also, of course, Electric Soldier Porygon. I actually watched this episode. Luckily, nothing happened to me. I didn't have a seizure. Didn't have a headache. I didn't feel nauseous. So I was okay. But I have to say, the kids that watch this show in Japan, that's tough. And I really feel for those kids. I really do, Nobody needs to go through that. And just years later, a similar situation occurred, and there were some creepypastas about Pokemon, such as the Lavender Town Syndrome, which had many similar side effects to the Electric Soldier Porygon episode, as kids got headaches and nausea from playing Pokemon Green. When they would get to Lavender Town being in Pokemon Green, had a different pitch than the one in Blue and Red. Apparently the music was so disturbing that it gave kids headaches and nausea just hearing the sound of the Lavender Town theme from Pokemon Green. There's also a story about the Pokemon Haunted Blue version, where the game had a mind of its own, and there was a lot of weird stuff in this game, like especially the white hand. The thing about the white hand, that's some creepy stuff. So like I said, Pokemon, it had a rough start, but once it came to the US, it really took off, and it's still popular today in Japan. It's still popular today in the US. Pokemon is right now trying to make a comeback with new games on the way. I don't think they're done. I have to say, Pokemon has the same amount of episodes as The Simpsons almost. It's that good. It's just like these other shows that will never go away, much like The Simpsons. I'm Flyersguy, and I just want to tell the story about the Throwback Flyersguy story. I want to tell the story about when I heard the news report about the Pokemon seizure incident. So, I hope everyone has a good day, and I hope everyone is doing well, and I have to warn you, and hope everyone's doing well. Thank you for joining me here on this episode of Throwback, Flyersguy. And if you have epilepsy or any type of symptoms, do stay away from any flashing lights. Thank you.